Afternoon, my name is Joseph Wise. Today I will discuss California criminal justice reform through Assembly Bill 109 and Propositions 36, 47, and 57. I will explain why these reforms were created, their intended benefits and unintended consequences, their impact on the criminal justice system, whether they are working as intended, and how they relate to Christian principles of justice, mercy, and redemption. To understand these reforms, it's important to understand the problem California faced. For many years, California's prison system was severely overcrowded. State prisons were operating at nearly double their intended capacity, creating concerns regarding inmate safety, medical care, and mental health treatment. In 2011, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Plata that California's prison overcrowding violated the Eighth Amendment, which is prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. In response to the Supreme Court's ruling, lawmakers and voters approved a series of reforms designed to reduce incarceration, which focused prison space on the most dangerous offenders and increase opportunities for rehabilitation. These reforms include AB 109, Proposition 36, Proposition 47, and Proposition 57. So this graph illustrates the impact of those reforms. California's prison population peaked at over 180,000 inmates around 2010. The first marker here that you see is AB 109, which was implemented in 2011, and it shifted many lower level offenders from state prisons to county supervision. The second red marker that you see here is Prop 47, which was implemented in 2014, and that reclassified several offenses from felonies to misdemeanors. As a result, California's prison population steadily declined and eventually reached approximately 90,000 inmates by 2026. So this demonstrates that the reform succeeded in reducing prison overcrowding, although they created new challenges that we will discuss throughout this presentation. So AB 109, also known as Prison Realignment, was enacted in 2011. It shifted many non-serious, non-violent, and non-sex offenders from state prisons to county supervision. The goal was to reduce overcrowding and comply with the Supreme Court's ruling in Brown versus Plata. The reform successfully reduced the state prison populations, but it also increased responsibilities for county jails, probation departments, and local law enforcement agencies. AB 109 demonstrates how criminal justice reform can shift responsibility from the state level to local communities. Proposition 36 modified California's three strikes law in 2012. So before Prop 36, an offender with two prior serious or violent felony convictions could receive a sentence of 25 years to life for almost any third felony offense. This proposition generally required the third strike to be serious or violent before a life sentence could be imposed. So supporters viewed this as a fair sentencing approach, while critics worried that repeat offenders would receive reduced punishments. So overall, Prop 36 sought to make sentencing more proportional to the offenses committed. Proposition 47 was approved in 2014, and it reclassified several lower level offenses from felonies to misdemeanors, including simple drug possession and certain theft-related crimes involving less than $950. Supporters argued that incarceration was often ineffective for lower-level offenders and that resources should instead be directed towards treatment, education, and rehabilitation programs. While critics argue that Prop 47 reduced accountability and contribute to concerns regarding retail theft and repeat offenders. More than a decade later, Prop 47 remains one of the most debated criminal justice reforms in California because supporters and critics continue to disagree about its impact on crime and public safety. Proposition 57 focused on rehabilitation and parole opportunities. It expanded parole eligibility for certain nonviolent offenders and increased opportunities for inmates to earn credits through education, treatment, and vocational programs. Supporters believed this would encourage rehabilitation and reduce recidivism, but critics expressed concerns about earlier releases and potential risks to public safety. Prop 57 reflects California's shift towards rehabilitation and successful reentry rather than focusing exclusively on punishment. These reforms affected every part of the criminal justice system. Law enforcement agencies supervise more offenders within local communities. Courts handle resentencing hearings, reclassification petitions, and parole-related decisions. Correction agencies focus more heavily on rehabilitation and community reentry programs. As shown in the statistics below, California's prison population declined from approximately 144,000 inmates in 2011 to approximately 90,000 inmates in 2026, a reduction of about 38%. Are California's reforms working as intended? Whether these reforms are working depends on how success is measured. Supporters point to reduced prison overcrowding, fairer sentencing practices, and expanded rehabilitation opportunities. Critics point to concerns involving retail theft, repeat offenders, and increased burdens on local agencies. Based on my research, I believe the reforms achieve several important goals, particularly reducing incarceration and expanded rehabilitation. However, concerns regarding accountability and public safety remain valid and should continue to be addressed. The central challenge is finding the right balance between rehabilitation and public safety. From a Christian perspective, criminal justice involves both justice and mercy. And the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, teaches believers to act justly and love mercifully. Romans 13 teaches that government has a responsibility to maintain order and punish wrongdoing. At the same time, Luke chapter 15 demonstrates the importance of redemption and restoration. So many Christian leaders teach that people are capable of change and that rehabilitation and second chances are important. However, they also emphasize accountability, victim protection, and public safety. In my view, a biblical approach to criminal justice should pursue justice, mercy, accountability, and redemption simultaneously. After researching these reforms, I don't believe California should repeal them. Instead, I believe California should continue improving them. The state should maintain the reforms that reduce prison overcrowding, improved sentencing fairness, and expanded rehabilitation opportunities. But at the same time, California should strengthen those mental health treatments, substance abuse programs, probation supervision, victim services, and accountability for repeat offenders. So, in conclusion, I believe California's reforms have achieved meaningful progress, but additional improvements are necessary to better balance rehabilitation, accountability, and public safety. Thank you for your time. I hope this presentation provided a balanced overview of California's criminal justice reforms and their continuing impact on law enforcement, courts, corrections, and the people of California.